I talk a lot about sports cars on this channel, but in this video I'm talk to you about 10 in particular that are very fast and also pretty practical. They all have 4 seats, big boots and all the rest. So no faff, let's get straight into it. If you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new. Without further ado, let's get straight into it. We're kicking off this video with the Maserati Quattroporte S, a large luxury car that comes equipped with a Ferrari-designed engine for performance, a 3-litre twin-turbocharged V6 to be exact, which puts out 404 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 4.9 seconds. This is the 6th generation Quattroporte, and what's amazing about this badge is the history it brings. It was favoured by wealthy families and the mafia in Italy in its early days, and was even driven by the PM of Italy back in the early 1980s. In fact, he showed up to the Ferrari factory in a Quattroporte in 1983, much to Enzo's disgust, as at the time, the two brands were fierce rivals. This car has of course depreciated a ton in line with Maserati's recent self-fulfilling prophecy of depreciation, which comes from build quality related issues and lemons causing some bad reviews, but all in these are pretty nice luxury cars for the money with great practicality. These are listed anywhere from around the £18,000 mark, with £30,000 getting you into a 2015 model with around 15,000 miles on the clock. Next up is an Aston Martin that I've never got on with hugely from a looks perspective, but definitely appreciate from a purpose perspective. The Rapide, with its 5.9 litre V12 engine making 550 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 4.7 seconds. What's amazing about this car is that its replacement in the market has been the DBX, which tells you exactly where Aston went wrong with this. This is a sort of super saloon come sports car, or a sports car come super saloon. It's hard to tell, but as a 4-door non-SUV either way, it wasn't following the trends of the 2010s as SUVs became more common practice, hence sales of these weren't exceptional, and longer term we've seen the introduction of the DBX. This is the most expensive car on the list, starting at our 30k limit, and for that money you'll get yourself a 2011 model with 100,000 miles on the clock. The reliability of these is largely related to the DB9, as a lot of the bodywork and the engine are shared with that car. So it's not bad, but corrosion is known and maintenance schedules should have been followed. We're now moving on to the Mark 7.5 VW Golf R Estate, a slightly less prestigious badge than the other cars on this list, but it earns its place due to its very solid performance, thanks to its 2-litre turbocharged inline-4 engine, which puts out 305 brake horsepower, the lowest on this list, which will still get it to 60 in 4.6 seconds. The formula for the Golf R Estate is the same as the hatchback, except that I think it's way cooler personally, of course only coming as a 5-door with massive luggage space in the rear. Golf Rs have always lent themselves to being modified in one way or another, but the estate tends to be left alone in this department, so I think these are ripe for a very typical bit of VW tampering. Some exterior carbon, some rotiform alloys, and slightly lower suspension would definitely make one of these look as mean as they sound. These start at around the 19k mark, while 30k gets you into a 2020 model with 15,000 miles on it. Carbon buildup and water pump failure are worthy of note on these, but generally they haven't been too bad. The next car I want to talk about in this video is the Lexus IS F, a nice super saloon which, alongside the RCF, is a cheaper route into limited fast Lexus ownership than an LFA ever will be. It comes with a 5-litre V8 engine which makes 417 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 4.6 seconds. This car was absolutely built to fight against the German executive rivals from BMW and Mercedes, namely the M3 and C63, so Lexus knew they had to go all out, knowing that they didn't have a history of making fast saloons, hence that massive engine and lovely muscly stylings. It's crazy how much nicer these are than the previous generation ISs aesthetically, both outside and in. You'll find this is for a minimum of around £19,000, and 30 grand will get you a 2010 model with 50,000 miles on the clock. In general, these are very solid cars, which makes sense given their Lexuses. The leaky water pumps and transfer plates are the two common issues on them. Now we have to talk about the Jaguar XFR-S, or in my head, the far cheaper, slightly less performant version of the Project 8. It comes with that typical JLR 5-litre supercharged V8 engine, which makes 542 brake horsepower, which will get it to 60 in 4.4 seconds. These specs made it the fastest Jaguar saloon car until the introduction of the Project 8, and it was only the second RS Jaguar model, following on from and using the same formula as the XKRS. It is a cool car with the liberal use of carbon fibre, the angular stylings, the large wing and the likes, but there is a cooler version, the Estate, which is a rarer car all in that I would absolutely love to own personally. £24,000 the minimum you'll find these listed for right now, but they are relatively hard to come by in general. That engine is pretty well known by this point, and it's generally reliable but requires good maintenance practices, and given they're quite rare there isn't much else to find on common problems, though many have done quite a few miles, which is always a good sign. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you are, a quick one, do hit the like button. 1,000 likes will make the same do again at half the price, so under £15,000 instead. And if you're new here, do hit the subscribe button as well. It really helps the channel out, and you get 2 videos every single week. Now we're moving on to the Mercedes GLA45 AMG S, the compact SUV version of the A45 AMG S, which comes with a 2-litre turbocharged inline-4 block, making 375 brake horsepower, which will get to 60 in 4.3 seconds. Of course, you can get the slightly less powerful non-S example of this car, but either way, it's still pretty rapid and comes with the Aero Kit option too, so you can get it to look as aggressive as the A45. It does have 5 doors, but the rear seats are a little bit more cramped than some of the other cars on this list, and I'd also say that the interior is not as nice as you might like it to be. It looks amazing, the design is very cool, but the materials can feel a little less premium than the money you might spend. This is reflected in its price though, as these cost around £16,000 at the bottom end, making it the cheapest car on the list, and 30 grand gets you a 2017 model with 20,000 miles on the clock. These have mostly been good on reliability though, with owners' main complaints actually being about the jerky gearboxes in traffic. In fourth on the list, we have an important name in the world of super saloons and slightly more practical sports cars as well, the BMW M3 Competition, specifically with the 3-litre twin turbocharged inline-6 engine, which makes 443 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 3.9 seconds, which is pretty rapid for a saloon of its size. This is the F80 generation of the M3, the first to split out the coupe and convertible as the M4 and stick to the saloon for the M3. It was also the first competition version of the M3, as the previous generations had instead come with models like the CSL or CS. It was the first turbocharged M3 too, and having driven the M4 equivalent, I can confirm that it remains an insanely powerful engine that does sound good as well. Maybe not V8 good though like the previous generation. It is on the more expensive side, starting at £28,000, while 30k gets you a 2016 model with 70,000 miles on it. The automatic gearboxes do need to be looked after on these, but generally you're better off in an inline-6 BMW than any other engine. The Audi RS6 Avant is one of the most well-known cars in the world of car enthusiasts, and the 3rd gen RS6 comes with a 4-litre twin turbocharged V8 engine, producing 552 brake horsepower, the most on this list, which will get to 60 in 3.8 seconds. Pretty good for an estate. These have been icons for over 20 years now, as 2022 marked the 20th anniversary of the 1st gen. One cool feature that I'd never really noticed with these is that every generation has come with ovular exhaust, so it might be interesting to see what Audi do if they ever go EV RS6. You did lose the crazy V10 engine for this generation, but what you lost in engine you gained in power, performance and modernity, as the car is way more practical for modern use, still lacking some features you'd get in today's cars, but largely what you'd need. These are also quite expensive though, starting at £29,000, with 30k getting you a 2013 model with 70,000 miles on it. Warped brake discs, coolant hose splitting and buckling wheels are the only common issues I'd point out in this video. Just missing out on the top spot, but the quickest combustion engined car on this list is the Porsche Panamera Turbo S, which has pretty insane performance coming out of its 4.8-litre twin turbocharged V8, which makes 542 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 3.7 seconds. This came with the 1st generation Panamera and embodies the majority of features that you might expect of the Turbo S badge on a 911, the ridiculous power, the PDK gearbox, exceptional braking, and generally unbelievable 0 to 60 and 0 to 100 times. While I think Porsche have done a better job with the designs of the most recent Panamera generation, this 1st gen is so much cheaper that from a value standpoint it has to be a consideration. That said, these have held value actually surprisingly well considering the age, as they start at around £25,000, with 30k getting you a 2010 model with 70,000 miles on it. That engine is much more reliable than it was in the Cayenne, and it isn't known for bore scoring in the Panamera, which is great news. There was a recall around turbos catching fire, but this should have been sorted on your car by now. Taking the top spot in this video thanks to its ridiculous, or should I say ludicrous, 0 to 60 time is the Tesla Model S P90D, which is the dual motor all-wheel drive EV, which makes 532 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 3.1 seconds. Mental pace for sure. Though it's marketed as a saloon, it opens up like a hatchback with a front as well for extra storage, and even an option of 3rd row seating in some markets. On release it had the largest sunroof of any car on the market, and it also has the same centre of gravity as a Ford GT. I'm not a big Tesla fan personally, but I'm also not a hater. I just like good cars, and as I order my list videos based on 0 to 60 most of the time, this car takes the top spot. I also am a fan of Tesla's fun extra features like the underwater mode on this, which is a little Easter egg when you type 007 into the control panel. These run you around £28,000 the bottom end, and 30k will get you a 2015 model with 70,000 miles on it. Battery life is one of the major concerns on these, as well as build quality. I know owners who've had incredible quality on these and others who have suffered with lemons. So here we go, enjoyed this video. If you did, then do hit the like button and subscribe as well if you're new. Massive thanks to the patrons for their support, and to you guys as well for watching. And if you want to watch a video on some cheap hatchbacks, then click up here and subscribe down here.